Hi there. Today we're going to be learning about the U.S.S. Massachusetts, or as she was nicknamed by her crew, Big Mammy. So, we've got a couple things to talk about. First off, she was built and sent off to war during World War II. We'll get into some of the stats for all of you ship nerds. We'll also get into the war fronts that she fought in and the casualties. Question mark. We'll get into that there. She was built in Quincy, Massachusetts at Four River Shipyard by Bethlehem Steel Corporation. Launched September 23rd, 1941, which, for those of you who are interested, World War II started in 1939. So she got a little bit late to the party, but not all that late considering that she was built fairly close to the start of America's jump into the war. She was the heaviest ship ever launched in Quincy, and that's where she got the name Big Mammy, rather than just Mammy, because she was this colossal ship at the time. She was sent to the Boston Navy Yard in April 1942, and then she was commissioned the next month, sent off to war. All right, so that's how she was built. It took quite a while, but she was eventually rolled out. Here's some of the stats for those of you who are really interested. She's a South Dakota class, which is the build and make of the model that she is. She's 680 feet long overall, which, for context, a mile is 5,280 feet. So you can do the math there, but yeah, about a little under about 1/11th, 1/12th of a mile, which quite a decent way to go. She also has a beam of 108 feet and 2 inches. So, yeah, that's the height of her. She also displaces 37,970 long tons, and tons 2,000 pounds. That's how much water she's displacing. And that's as she was built and designed for. However, during combat, she was filled to 44,900 and or 519 long tons in combat. Just think about that. That's over 89,000 pounds that she thousand or yeah, that's how many thousands and thousands of pounds. So yeah, quite heavy. I did the math, and it would take a total of 5 entire city of the local large city in where I'm at, which has a population of 50,000. If I was there and I could, lift 300 pounds, it would take 5 of those cities of 50,000 to be able to lift this ship. And that's on its, regular carry weight. So yeah, rather heavy. She also had 8 oil-fired Babcock and Wilcox boilers, and they had 130,000 shaft horsepower. She was able to go 27 and a half knots and had a main battery of 9 16-inch caliber Mark 6 guns. Think about that, like, getting hit by one of those things, you wouldn't exist anymore. And a lot of the ships that she fought didn't last very long. And that gets us to the war. She was first started out in Operation Torch in the Atlantic Ocean, where she had a duel with the unfinished French battleship Jean Bart, which was moored at the Kespel Anka Pier, as in it was still being built and shipped. They had a fight there, and that was the first American 16-inch projectile. She was then sent back, refitted, resupplied, and upgraded, those sort of things in February of 1943. So, for those of you who know how years work, that means she was out in the Atlantic for 2 years. And then afterwards, she went to Panama to the Pacific Ocean, where she fought in the New Guinea Solomon area. She was involved in the invasion of the Gilbert Islands in November of 1943, the invasion of the Marshall Islands in January 1944, invasion of Palau Islands, at least I hope I pronounced it correctly, and acted as an escort to defend carriers against enemy aircraft and that sort of thing. So yeah, she was primarily used to help secure others. She was also involved in Iwo Jima and Okinawa before the land invasions, the invasions. So she was involved and attacked them before, like the main major assault that you hear about in history books. Yeah, and that happened. Their invasion happened in 1945, which is the year the war ended. Casualties. I did promise I'd get to the casualties. Thankfully, I can count the number of dead on one hand, or no hand. There was no one who died throughout the entire wartime service from Big Mamie. She lived up to the title, U.S.S. Massachusetts. She defended her troops well. There were, however, 11 injured through various different things, which, considering how many there was over 2,000 soldiers there during combat, and 1,700 plus a few extra during non-combat. So yeah, 11 injuries when there's just that many people working in a tight, cramped space. Quite impressive. Now we get on to her post-war. There's not as much about what happened here. She was deactivated in 1946, which meant she was no longer like running around doing war missions and whatnot. And then she was put into the reserves until 1962, where she was ordered to be sold for scraps. However, her wartime crew, who were holding annual reunions since 1945, they were like, no, we love this old gal. We're not going to let her just get torn apart to shreds to, build some bridge or whatnot. So they lobbied to save their ship as a memorial. And they got the assistance of the Massachusetts school children. So school children are like, yeah, let's help these vets get their ship, get their old baby back in the waters and staying safe. And they succeeded, where the U.S.S. Massachusetts became one of the 5 National Historic Landmark ships at Battleship Cove, where you can still visit to this day. These pictures were all taken by myself when I went there. There's a couple things you can do there. It's a modern museum. They've got signal training on certain hours. You can see signal training happening right here. I was able to participate in that. I'm the photographer, so you don't really see me in the picture, but you do see the people training, learning how to send signals. There's a couple varieties they had from lights. The signals you see here are kind of the emergency. Other communications are offline. If your radio was off, you'd use flags and you'd have someone else see the flags and signal back. So they had a few ways of making sure you could tell what was what. They also do some overnight activities for organizations like scouting and whatnot, where they can go stay overnight, learn a bunch of things, that sort of stuff. So, and they've got cots and they run those sorts of activities. They also have a cafeteria. They have got working restrooms inside the battleship, which was quite cool. They've got a cafeteria where they sell pretty great food and just so many things. They've got people who will go and teach you things and be more interactive, dressed as sailors at the time. Overall, a wonderful experience, a great place to learn, and really a place you can start to really appreciate the battles and the wars and how much sacrifice was put into it and how much ingenuity. So yeah, that's Big Mamie, the U.S.S.